All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you guys for coming out and helping us develop our character. Okay, so as you can see on the table, I've placed two sheets of paper. One's being used by my brother who will be taking notes for us today. But right here, you'll see that we have the origin story and then we have a graphic. It's a brainstorming graphic. So that's already what we have coming with the character. I'll go over that quickly. We have wisdom, unbiased judgment, equality, equity, knowledge, and a champion of any and all marginalized groups. That's what the Equitizer is, and that's what we hope he means to the community, which is why we're here today, so that the community can also have their input on how we develop this character. Excuse my manners. I'm Michael Oman Coleman. This is Malik Perry. This is the illustrator and the co-writer of the backstory behind the Equitizer.
So basically, he's the Jack Kirby to your Stanley.
Pretty much. Pretty much. All right. So, couple of interesting points about our character. His name is Marshall Galbraith. If anybody knows, there's a building. There is a building named after these two gentlemen. They were both prominent Black civil rights leaders here in Culpeper. Initially, when we did the origin story, it was kind of on the fly, but we did go back and we changed his place of origin to Culpeper, Virginia, so that way, not only is he written by two people from Culpeper, but he also represents Culpeper. So if this thing were to blow up, which fingers crossed it does, that'll definitely help put Culpeper on the map. So moving forward, people will ask that question, and who knows, it might bring a lot more eyes and attention to Culpeper, positive things that we all think we need. So, he was born in the Reconstruction period. So right after slavery, there was a period where the country went into Reconstruction. The South had to start rebuilding and things like that. So we didn't want to base him off of a negative time necessarily in our history. I'm sure there were negative things that were happening, but at the time we were moving in the right direction. So it's almost like he got a fresh start at the same time that the country did. So he starts in Reconstruction. He moves on into the westward expansion of African Americans. A lot of people don't know that, but there's people who expanded across the United States. That's why you have people in LA and Texas. He actually finally settled down in Houston. He's a rancher and a cowboy. So that's where he gets that Western look from. That's something that we talked about at the NAACP. We really wanted to give him a cool look. I think that's one of those things that's an aesthetic right now that's really popular with the Black community because it was never really talked about. A lot of really all culture and history is left out, and that's something that we wanted to put a magnifying glass on and say, hey, we're more than just this time period. And hopefully he can, expose that type of stuff, for all cultures and, religions, genders, and orientation. So, any input there?
Yeah, and then like you said, because it was Reconstruction, so it wasn't the worst time, but it was still kind of bad. With things going on, he was just one of the people that was like, all right, I'm gonna step up and kind of take care of some stuff. But no, he did a really good job presenting him so far. Just the name and the meaning of his name and what that means to what we want it to mean to the community. And then I just feel like I don't know if we're missing anything, but I feel like we did a pretty good job of just setting him up with being from here and then going to Houston and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's his backstory? He can be from here, but what are the elements? What is this origin story that led him to becoming the hero that's going to become?
Yeah. You want to read it? I can read it. All right, so I'll read a script from his origin story. Actually, we have it right here. Okay. So, born in Culpeper, Virginia during the Reconstruction period, Marshall Galbraith, excuse me, I'm still trying to get the pronunciation, was born into a system of persecution. He witnessed inequality, discrimination, and hate when they were at their peak here in this country. He vowed that when he was old enough and strong enough, he would do everything in his power to eradicate what he both witnessed and experienced from the world. Once he became of age, he decided to head out west with what is known as the Great Migration for African Americans to start life, a new beginning, and begin his mission to rid the world of negativity. He found a haven in Houston, Texas, and little footnote there. My friend just moved back to Culpeper from Houston, Texas, so this is all incorporated into it. Okay, where? Okay, Houston, Texas, where he became both a cowboy and a bounty hunter. Okay, rancher.
I like that.
You like that? All right.
Like he's branching out. He's got multiple.
Yes. So the harder they fall, it was a huge
Yes.
influence on it. So for sure. While on a bounty, he came across Comanche natives, one of which was being held captive by his bounty's gang. He then teamed up with the Comanches to capture his bounty and free the captive. Only after the battle did he uncover that the captive was a Comanche chief named Whitefang, who was forever thankful for his participation of his liberation. The chief offered just about any and all material things a man could want. However, Marshall declined repayment. The chief was shocked and invited Marshall to stay with his tribe to secretly observe a strange hero. After 3 months with the tribe, a council of elders was held at which it was determined that Marshall had a pure soul and was selected to be the champion for equality, equity, and the equity of humankind. A ceremony then took place where the spirit of the buffalo hawk and Marshall became one, giving him cell regeneration, super strength, super speed, extreme precision, wisdom, knowledge, and unbiased judgment. All those tools he needed to defend the innocent, weak, and marginalized people of the world until the end of time. So that's what we came up with, trying to cover all bases there.
So it's like taking the Lone Ranger, because Lone Ranger is based off of Bass Reeves,
Yes.
and giving him superpowers.
Giving him superpowers.
Also kind of reminds me of Zorro a little bit.
Yes.
Remind you of what?
Zorro.
Yeah.
All this is inspiration, yes.
One question, is there, because all superheroes, they always have something that can kind of bring them down.
They're
You know,
kryptonite.
Exactly. Does he have something like that?
Bullets.
In a-
I was about to say, I guess. Bullets, maybe.
Hey, we didn't
For
think about
us,
that yet.
the oppression.
joke, I'm sorry.
His weakness would be the oppression of people.
Okay.
So if oppression of people gets to a certain, how do I say this? Like a certain magnitude, he'll feel it. But that will also prompt him to go and do his investigations, try to figure out why. And all those things that he has gifted to him from the spirit is what's going to help him defeat the marginalization or persecution of certain people.
That kind of reminds me of the X-Men character Gladiator from the Shi'ar, because I don't know, he's a little more of an obscure character unless you've read a lot of X-Men, but his power is derived from his confidence. The more confident he is, the stronger he is. So so the weakness is kind of a reverse of that.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Well, wisdom falls apart if you get too hooked into the emotion of the situation.
True.
Yeah, all the logic goes out the window.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we
fear
don't
takes
want,
over.
we don't want it to be an ego thing. We want it to be more like, okay,
Right.
there's people in need, and I can feel that. Let me go and do what I need to do to make sure that, one, I'm able to continue defending people, and two, get these people right.
What I'm really loving about it is that in this day and age where police brutality is happening, and this is a figure of law that is kind of taking that and he's stepping up and protecting everyone.
Yes. I'm actually glad you brought up that point. You can't see it in the depiction of the character, which I will throw it out there on the table. You may see a little bit. So if you can see under his trench coat, and I'll put one down on the table as well so you guys can get a better look. There is a weapon there. It looks like the handle of a weapon, or a gun, rather. However, the chamber is a pencil. So we should have, we were trying to put it on the TV, but we weren't able to do it. So you have lead on one end, and you have the eraser on the other. The lead is to represent, okay, I've done what I needed to do to stop these people from being oppressed, but I need to put laws into place. So what he does when he pulls that trigger is he writes new policies and laws into place.
Oh, I love
With
it.
the eraser on the other end, he erases all of the hate and the negative things that were put into those policies. So that way in the future, not only do we not necessarily forget, but don't hold that grudge, we also take away all the hate and the feeling that went along on the other side, because usually when somebody is hated or oppressed, the feeling is oftentimes reciprocated. So we don't want that anymore. We not, like I said, not erase it, but
Well,
So
and
take
writing
away
new
the
laws
feelings.
takes care of the systemic part of it.
exactly. Exactly.
So kind of a low level psychic.
Yeah.
Almost like a
Oh,
man.
like a reality change. Like a reality change. All right, bro.
Eric Draven, the crow.
Okay, yeah, that's a better.
Yeah,
example.
okay.
Yeah, place the hands on the face and like take away your pain or
Yeah.
give it to
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was a great
you
point.
got
Thank you.
No, your input is very much
created
needed.
an nemesis for him or an adversary, particular adversary other than just generalized oppression, those kind of things. That's really how you get loosely.
So loosely, we haven't been able to really write the origin story of the nemesis, right? The arch nemesis. But we do have a name. And his name is Censor, almost like the word censor. He's the Equitizer, and then we have Censor. Censor is the one who benefits and gains from the oppression of people.
Right.
So there's always that yin and yang. You know, in every comic book tale, any super or hero versus villain movie, there's always somebody you have the antagonist. So we do have the antagonist. We haven't had the time to really develop it. So
And censors from the Rotary Club, they submitted
Yes.
the censor
I
character.
recall talking to you about that.
Yeah.
Censor kind of sounds to me like kind of almost like a demigod of fear and hate.
he feeds off of
yeah.
that. Yes. for sure.
Yeah, that's what kind of reminds me of a bunch of different characters, not just in comics, but in mythology as well. You know, like Ares, and
Yes.
that kind of thing.
So can I ask if there's certain characters or types that you were thinking about or inspired by to create this character?
The NAACP Culpeper chapter actually gave us great guidelines on what they wanted out of the character, and you know they entrusted us to take those suggestions and kind of run with them. So either further develop or tone down, or make sure that this point is getting across at a higher magnitude. So yeah, we did have a little bit of a lot of guidance actually, and I think we did a pretty good job at delivering. We've got nothing but positive feedback from it, so we're very appreciative for helping us develop that.
It seems like one of the big dilemmas of our time is that we have the administration of law disconnected from heart.
Oh.
Law, just law, a just society has to keep that heart connection so that you don't lose sight of the humanity while you're upholding the law. And that, of course, is the dilemma that's plastered all over the news.
Kind of like losing sight of the people you're supposed to make these laws for.
Yeah. So
Although democracy.
So maybe
in
that's
this
something we can put on
image,
the board.
I'm looking to find that, and I'm not sure I find it yet. So I'm wondering if the image itself, the backstory, it's beginning to come out. But I'm not sure I see it yet in the image. And that's a graphic challenge that I wonder, is this going to be an evolving?
That's the plan. That's kind of the a big reason why we're here right now, because we want to help develop the character a little bit more. So I appreciate that input. But yeah.
I'm thinking such an evolved character probably requires several different photos, different pictures.
Yeah.
Doing like one of them, he could
The
be like
activity.
reading a book, like a book like Mouse or some book with censored.
Yeah.
Or he could be
Say-
playing a musical instrument, or he could be doing artwork, or we could be expanding him.
Maybe
that way.
within his maybe I don't know if he'll have a tool belt, the utility belt that some characters have, and maybe those things come into play. Like this is the wand of whatever. I don't know.
Or like so to where in a position to where when something happens, like we always think about the heart, what they're trying to come from. So maybe the heart actually starts to grow bigger.
Oh, that's
You
a
can
great
see that,
one.
like in his chest or like an outline of it coming to where it's something when something's happening. He gets a flash or something will come. Somebody's being
Like a spider sense
humiliated
in
or
his heart.
something like that.
When he sees that kind of thing, maybe his eyes glow like black or red or something.
So
and
his heart gets
when
bigger?
when it goes away, maybe his eyes glow gold or something.
Oh.
Honest, where my mind was going, just artistically so far was like the red stripes on it.
Stripes with
Like
glow.
they'll kind of start to glow and
Yes,
get bigger.
that's what I
and
was
stuff like
just
that.
thinking.
Oh,
Exactly.
that's
Like
And then
mood
depending on
changes or something.
yeah, depending on like what level of like power he needs to fight the foe or whatever, it's like he's much gonna like bust out the jacket.
Like his
and all that
aura
type of stuff.
changes colors too.
Yeah.
And where the light radiates from.
Yes.
And
Writing this down.
Exactly.
Andrew needs to write it down. I don't
Yeah.
know. Are you guys writing down what we're saying? Okay.
Somewhat related, but not quite. Does he have some kind of keepsake from his time as he was growing up that maybe he'll bring out every so often to refer
Keepsake
to?
from his time.
I mean, it's not from his time. That was more of a creative,
But it could have
Who said
something
representation.
that he got from the
Well, yeah,
Comanche.
representation
You
of
know.
of how he was coming up and how he came to be.
Those are something
Like-
that someone passed on to him through his family.
That too.
Exactly.
Like something from his history, his great grandpa, or somebody left this and it came to him, and everyone thought, let's just say it's a clock. It doesn't have to be a clock or a watch or something, but let's just say.
Some tchotchke.
Something. And everyone like has it and they keep it, and everyone's like, well, it doesn't really fit me. Well, it doesn't kind of, but then finally he comes along and somehow, oh my gosh, it fits perfectly. And oh my gosh. And everyone in the family realizes, dude, that was meant for you. That is from, great grandpa to you.
I think I have an example.
And he's the only person who it was really meant for, and suddenly we all go, whoa, it was great.
I think I have an example. Did you ever? There's an old anime called I forget what.
This is your bag.
That's
his bag.
Not Ninja Gaiden. That's the game. But there's an old anime from the 80s and 90s. Ninja something. And the main character towards the end, when he's going off to fight the bad guy, when his friend dies, he takes her headband and takes it for himself, wraps it around his head, and then later on, after he's done, he uses it as part of the scabbard for a sword. So maybe he could have something like a headband or a watch or a necklace or something that he hangs around his belt or hangs around his wrist or something.
What's the actual symbol? Like
Are you into the newer animes?
I've dealt with I've watched a few of them.
Okay, so the one I'm thinking about right now is My Hero Academia,
Like that one.
and Midoriya, he took a Gran Torino's cape.
Yeah.
And that's something that he's rocking with right now. And then
Yeah.
he was always a big fan of All Might, so he wants to keep the smile, and that's part of his uniform and stuff like that. So is that what you're saying?
Something to that effect. I mean, if I remember correctly, he's using Gran Torino's cape as something of a scarf or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be something.
Okay.
So it wasn't written into the origin story, but he does have the Ikwa, which is a Zulu weapon that was used by Shaka Zulu's warriors. But as far as personally from his time, I think the suggestion from this young lady, I'm sorry, what's your name?
Oh, Camden.
Camden. Hey, that was a cracker suggestion by Camden. She said his hat. Because you got to remember, he came up in Reconstruction and he goes out west. So what do you think when you hear about a Western man or a cowboy, a bounty hunter? The hat. And that's his hat. That's, and he has cell regeneration, so he's staying the same age throughout time. That's what, the biggest gift is that he's going to be able to do that until the end of time. So when he's fighting in the 21st century, he still got that hat. That means something to him. This is where I came from. This is where this is what I won't forget. I went through these experiences and I'm fighting to make sure that other people don't have to go through the same. So that hat could be that one, item that does it for him. So
He's also got a band on it. I was looking at the tribal elders, after 3 months with the tribe, a council of elders was held. And that is when his pure soul was kind of like anointed.
yes.
And that's the Comanche Council of Elders, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, here in the story. Well, they're not a silver tribe, but I was thinking something from that moment of recognition of his pure soul
It
could be
may
incorporated into his
Historic.
Yeah, it may need a little bit more development, but his belt buckle is
His belt
definitely on
buckle.
track with that.
Okay.
I can't remember what it was.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say, did the Comanches work with like turquoise or silver, like some other tribes from that area?
No, they were
No, they
raiders.
were
Comanches
plains
are raiders.
Indians.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They
Those
took-
were the ones who were actually they were really good at
Last-
shooting arrows on
Oh, okay.
horses' backs and stuff like that. As far as like their attire, we didn't get
Yeah,
into
they had
that.
feathers.
Comanches were horse culture. That's
Yeah.
what I was gonna say.
The
The tribes-
beads,
The tribes
I don't
all
know if it's-
traded a lot with
Right.
the whites.
Yeah,
And
they-
they traded
yeah,
with
they-
and
Yes.
and beads.
And they learned to do a lot of very beautiful, I've seen a lot of it because I've lived in that part of the world. Beautiful, intricate beadwork and stuff, and I'm wondering if that cannot be included, like maybe on his hat band, they give him something. That
I've seen
I
plenty
mean,
of
that
towels
was
on
his
it.
hat.
Yeah.
It maybe is attached to his hat. These are the things that represent him, his power, his strength, his history, his mission in life. I don't know.
So when they
Just a
do that
That's
ceremony where they give him it, where they say you're the pure whatever, they give him something, I don't know, like you said, like something like that, or the watch or whatever. And
Talisman.
it's something they didn't make themselves, but you said they were a raiding culture, so they got this, it was from some event or some prominent event in their history or something.
Okay. I like these ideas. Thank you guys so much.
I don't know, like, so this idea has probably been used before, and it's obviously an obvious trope or whatever, but you try to do it in a different way. So you need to take from his history where it came from, where it's just Culpeper County, but beyond, because we're referencing its reconstruction, you just came from slavery.
Mm.
Slavery, his forefathers were brought from Africa, right?
Mm.
So you want that timeline, he's moving to Houston. So what, say somehow the shackles of one of his forefathers, the chains or whatever, he has them with him. Those are what becomes his power. So he takes those, so that Indian ceremony, they're there. And when they see he has a pure soul, whatever force you want goes into those which he can wear. That's kind of his, like, whatever his shield, Captain America, whatever. He can hide them under his coat.
Or like a Ghost Rider thing.
Yeah, kind of maybe. And then, but when he feels oppression, they glow. And when the more they glow, the more powerful he becomes. So that brings a lot of, I don't know if it's too obvious or too much, but
Yeah.
that, there's a lot of ways to work with that. And
That's why we
I feel like the
elected not
shackles
to go with it, because
Okay.
it is a trope. So
Is
I
it
mean,
trope? Yeah.
the reason why he's born in the Reconstruction period is because it's
Get away from
the country taking a breath or a breath of fresh air.
Right.
So this is a new type of character. This is somebody who's going to be representative for everybody.
Okay.
Somebody who's all inclusive. He's going to help all marginalized people. We didn't want to really, focus in on, oh yes, he's African American, which he is.
right.
But at the same time, we also wanted to point out the fact that we're just more than our history didn't start with slavery.
Right.
That's why he's walking around with it, because the Zulu warriors fought with it. That was a whole kingdom over there. They beat the British. So we're taking that opportunity to educate people on more than just what we are getting taught in schools.
Right.
That, okay, this is the beginning of Black history. Every year in school when they do Black history, it starts with slavery. That's not the beginning of our
No.
story. So that's why we elected not to do that. It's been done a lot. Every young Black man in here can tell you, when people try to tell you about your history, it always starts with slavery. If you don't do your own research, if your parents don't educate you, there's people still out here today that think that they were nothing but slaves when they came, when their story started, and that's just not true. So we just really wanted to take a step away from that, and then we also wanted to make sure that we weren't honing in on just the African American feature of the character. He's here for everyone. That's why he travels. That's why he goes from Culpeper, the East Coast, the South. He goes to, the West, and he does his training and stuff. Becoming a bounty hunter and a cowboy over there. he goes and he spends time with the Native American. He's on both sides of that conflict because you got to remember at this time, the U.S. and almost every Native American tribe, they're at odds right now.
Well, the last tribe to hold out was the Comanches.
Yes.
So he's with that.
Yes.
A lot of stories with that if you want to write that in too.
Yes. So, and that goes into him having unbiased judgment. In order to really be unbiased in your judgment, you have to hear from both sides. Nothing can be one-sided. We're warring with these people. He goes spend time with these people. He understands them. And they understand him. That's how he's selected as a pure soul. Somebody who can sit down and listen to you, understand what you're saying, and then come back and say, well, how about this? That's how compromise happens everywhere in the world. So we want to make sure that the character really represents that. So that's why we didn't want to go with that. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's been done so many times that we don't want to hone in.
Is there a connection with this? Have you looked at similarities between Zulu and Comanche culture? So you can combine
They were both raiders.
Right, they're both raiders. And they both defeated much larger and better forces.
Yes.
At least for for a while. I don't know if there's some kind of connection you can make with the character with that.
For sure.
I like that.
When we were writing it, I mean, it came to mind, and I was just like, okay, well, with further character development, we'll probably run into that where that point where we're like, hey, let's draw these similarities, so people don't seem so distant. We have people. I'm one of those believers in Pangea. For all I know, they could have had the same origins, and then the world splits in half, but they're living same origins just in different places. So. Yeah, that's a great. I appreciate
It's just a comment about the character. One thing I really like, to see is like the black cowboy too.
Yeah.
Because like if you really look back, like black people were like some of the original cowboys. It's really not portrayed as something back in the day. Right? That's such a cool like archetype for a character, and I really like to see that. You represented that. It's so cool. I really like it. So just like you said, the harder they fall. That was a great movie. It was really cool to see us in those type of roles. So I'm really excited to see a character.
Just the term cowboy, it's in itself. They called us cowboys almost as a derogatory term, but then you turn around a couple of decades later and you got, everybody's little kids, whether you're Hispanic, white, black. I want to be a cowboy. Let's play cowboys and robbers, So it was supposed to be derogatory. Oh, that's just a cowboy. Cowboy was he was a bad, bad son of a gun. So.
A quick footnote: anybody who follows like Yellowstone and that guy Taylor Sheridan, he's creating another story based on Bass Reeves. Another show. Bass Reeves.
What I was going to say earlier is kind of piggybacking off of what you're saying, and everyone is about the comparison between the Comanche and the Zulu culture, kind of maybe honing in on we're more alike than we are different. That could be the theme that he could say we're more alike than we are different. Like a constant message that he's always putting out there. So, that's all.
Do we have any other inputs or notes that we can jot down and help with this our character development?
I was wondering what's his specific. I know you mentioned his attributes. You read them off, like the knowledge and the something like that. What does he have? Specific powers, or like invincibility and vulnerability, or what kind of thing? Super strength, or how does it work? Or how does his
one of his biggest ones would be like the regeneration, because like when he was during the ceremony, that like he kind of stopped in time right there. Like in terms of like growing, he just won't grow.
He doesn't age.
He won't age.
Immortal.
So that's his.
And then we
Can I have that power? Where's the ceremony?
Then we have a super strength.
Okay. Like that kind of like shines on the resiliency of like marginalized people, right? We always bounce back. Come back from that. So that regeneration and the bouncing back. That's cool.
Do you plan to put him in like different periods during historical times, like at the Tulsa riots and like those, where he played a
like time travel type of thing?
So kind of piggybacking off that as well, one of the thoughts I had was when I think it was Dr. King's quote of the arc of justice is long, but it bends towards the truth. Your first volume could be called the arc of justice. And it could just be however many episodes. That'll be your first volume, right? Yeah, because it's a good title. It fits exactly what that fits. The idea of resilience. Yes, it might take a while, but it's gonna come towards you.
Right.
If you're gonna do me with
Yes, you
historical
can actually start
figures,
multiple volumes coming.
maybe you know who Buddy Bolden is?
Actually,
Buddy Bolden is the guy who is
Yeah, before hip hop.
Buddy Bolden is basically the guy who is
You have side characters that come up.
credited with creating jazz.
It opens up.
Yeah. He King Bolden's stomp is actually a standard in jazz. And he came around the late 19th or early 20th century in New Orleans. So if your character is going through the country in different time periods, and you want something that's going to show, yeah, they're going through some stuff, but they're also creating great stuff within the adversity and controversy. I think the character getting together with Buddy Bolden or someone like that would probably be a good idea.
Right.
Kind of like teaming up with them?
Well, not necessarily teaming up,
But almost like a pass,
maybe
pass
halfway
by.
influencing.
Exactly.
Halfway influencing influential characters throughout time.
Exactly. Influencing, or maybe they influence him.
Yeah, because like his passing in their life kind of helped them do what they did.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Kind of reminds me of the Sandman when he would meet with Hob Gadlin. I think the character was the Englishman who that Morpheus gave immortality to see how he lived his life.
Okay.
Kind of like that. Not
I like
quite,
that.
not quite like that, but similar.
Yeah. What we got, man? You got some input?
We really looking for your input.
I know.
Yeah.
Hey, you both are the same age.
Yeah, we are. How you know that? Somebody told you?
I think
He got a superpower, man.
Is that perception?
Perception is a superpower.
We're almost exactly the same age.
Really,
4 days.
That should be a quality
4
perception.
days.
Keen perception brought to you by the little ones.
There you go.
Hey.
I do like the idea of him rubbing off on other people as he does, and it affects other people. You know, as he does his thing, other people are acquiring some of those attributes.
Yeah.
And to that point, Dr. He couldn't be here today, but he did. He contacted us, and he was saying that he wanted there to be some sort of almost like the voice of God. So you know how, technically speaking, the angel Metatron in the Bible is the voice of God, because God's voice would just rupture everything. So he was like, he needs to have that type of influence over people. And I said, well, the same thing with the NAACP. The way we gain that voice is by showing up, being present, and actually being involved in the community. So the more work he does, the more influential his voice will be. So that's not only what we want out of the character, because this character is a representation and a reflection of what we want to, do in our community and we want out of our community. So that's the intention, to make sure that we're always there and we're always helping the advancement of the community, and so are our characters. So.
But like, I guess what we're trying to say is he just doesn't pop up and start saving people.
Saving people, right?
He
He works towards
He works
that,
towards
It's
it.
collaborative.
Yeah.
It takes more than one.
And that's
Exactly. Starts to build a community of, just justice, I guess you could say.
Yeah. That's the realistic aspect of the world, and we wanted to kind of shed light on that. Nothing happens overnight. Justice doesn't
Well, not one person can change it.
Justice doesn't come overnight. So I mean, you could have a superhero that's doing all this stuff, and until everybody becomes, or gets on the same page, nothing gets done.
I mean, I don't know. That's kind of like Superman, or back to my man Deku from My Hero. Like, they had a team, that the Justice League, and all of the other people that kind of helped them do what they did best. Right? So that's a good point. So thank you.
Is there something in him that can actually recognize, say, for instance, when somebody's actually getting ready to do something?
Foresight?
Like a foresight. And the reason why I said that, because I was thinking about, for him to have that superpower to see something within somebody before it's getting ready to get started. So like, just a play on, when we look at this, what do we see? What do we see when we
That
look
little
at that?
dot.
Huh?
Are you talking about that little
Yes.
dot?
You see the little dot, right? But within that dot, that's our mistake. So if this is our mistake, that's what we focus on, right? Within everybody, we all make mistakes. If he's able to see that dot within those persons before it actually gets larger, because we concentrate so much on the mistake. But what do we not concentrate on? All of this.
All the
And
possibilities.
that's your life. So when he's throwing in the equity and everything else that's actually within him to build the people back up,
Yeah.
he can see that within them before it gets larger.
Okay.
Okay, that perception, foresight vibe.
Go back to perception.
Yeah.
Powerful, man.
I'm liking it.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah, you
like
have to
that.
find some like nemesis or some weaknesses.
Yeah,
for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, some adversity for him.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, sure.
There's a lot out there.
All right. Well, okay, we're at 2:45. Do we have anybody else who wants to put any last minute inputs or anything, any notes?
Nothing noted to that, but I'm with the NAACP in Fauquier, and I would love to have you all come to be a guest speaker for us.
Thank you.
at
We'll
our-
be honored.
at our,
Yeah, for sure.
General meeting.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, do you mind if I steal that
So,
description?
I have your email
Yes.
from the fall festival. We'll get it. Yes,
Fill
yes.
out.
The Remington
You guys
Fall
wouldn't
Festival,
mind
yes,
doing a
yes.
presentation for the state. I would love you guys to come out and do a presentation for the state. So I'm the chair for reentry for the Department of Corrections.
Okay.
And to do the reentry and actually to see people do change, that would be awesome
Yeah.
for you guys to actually present that. So I would like to get with you guys to.
We are
see if you can
open
present
to
that
everything.
across the
We're
board.
excited. We're enthusiastic. This was brought to us, and like I said, we're very appreciative of the NAACP Culpeper chapter for entrusting us with this, and we will make sure that these notes are taken in, and we will try our best to weave them into the origin story and hopefully continue to build off of it. God willing, we're able to take this character somewhere, and we're able to develop it a lot better. And we'll try our best.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What are the figures that look almost like letters to the right of him?
Oh, that's actually the picture on the table is the most recent design.
Yeah.
That's kind of
You good.
that was kind of something we came up in the process.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what is this?
That is his emblem. The
Yeah,
emblem.
you know, like Batman has his bat and Wonder Woman. That's kind of his symbol, his sigil.
I had one question too, like, so since he's gonna be kind of representing like all people, equality, equity, so he's not necessarily American-centric then?
No,
Is he?
no, he's not.
I didn't know if he's a representative of the new Americans of that Reconstruction period, or he's more, you're thinking more beyond the boundaries of America or North America, or, because to me, that seems an important part, because even though you're starting with Reconstruction, that's a specific American thing, but you're talking about a character who's beyond that. I would think it'd be important to make sure there's a conscious decision about how you represent him with that.
That's a good question.
So the character in our what am I trying to say? The way we thought of the character was a reflection of what we want the United States to be. And if you think about the United States, we have our finger in everyone's government. So for us to say no, this character is only limited to the United States, that wouldn't be a reflection of that character. So we will try to incorporate him into other countries in a positive light, not a negative one.
And so one reason why you do not have any of the American tropes for the design.
The only thing that we have that's American, and nobody noticed this, which I'm slickly, he noticed it. I figured you
Is
would.
what? Is what?
So his belt buckle is actually the centerpiece for the African American flag, not the Afrocentric flag. So, and I mean, we went with it. It's a trope again. The Westerns, they have the cowboy boots and they have big belt buckles. So we were like, that would make a great belt buckle. So
Okay.
we did have some people notice it though. So I commend you guys on noticing that. Great job.
I was gonna say, if you think back to Superman, when he first came out, it was truth, justice, and the American way, right? And then as time went on, it kind of evolved to be more of everyone's superhero. It's kind of the same thing for him, right? He might have started out in America, but he fights injustice across the globe.
Exactly. And equity is everywhere.
No, it's huge.
All right, well, I just got the notification that is our time. I appreciate everybody for coming out, and thank you guys for your attention.
And if you're interested in the NAACP Culpeper, reach out to us. I'm Alicia Bell. We have Caleb Hackley, Jason Ford, who are all, and welcome back from his vacation, Mr. Ed Dumfries. We're all board members of the chapter, and we would love to welcome you to any meeting. We just had our ribbon cutting last week at our new office on Lovers Lane, the Culpeper Business Center, doing workshops and various things. If you have ideas for workshops, we got the space and we got the time. Thank you.
And Carol Nelson.
Yeah, and Carol Nelson's one of our members, but yes. Thank you all. Yay.
Yeah.